Greetings, business professionals, and welcome to another video edition of Building Better Businesses. I am your host, Steve Eschbach, and I'm delighted to have you join us on another one of our episodes. I am one of a few Transworld Business Advisor owners here in Chicagoland, and we specialize in assisting business owners confidentially sell and match them with qualified buyers. Transworld, by the way, is the world's largest and fastest growing business brokerage firm. I also own a number of other entities that are designed to assist business owners enhance value. You know, I have been a corporate executive and a business owner for more than 40 years, so you would think I would know everything possible about running a business efficiently. Well, you would be further from the truth. In fact, I am delighted to say that many of my successes have been attributable to you out there who have, quote, been there, done that in a world that never seems to stop changing. So I am delighted now to present another episode whereby we can learn from a subject matter expert on how to enhance your business operations. Now on to the next edition of Building Better Businesses. Good afternoon. This is Steve Eschbach. I'm the president and owner of Transworld Business Advisors of Naperville, and I'm delighted to have George Birrell, who's the CEO of Taxhub. And we're going to talk a little bit of business. So number one, George, I want to thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. So George, why don't you kind of give us a brief summary of who it is you are and what it is you do, and then we'll take it from there.
My name's George Birrell. I'm a CPA, and I'm the founder of Taxhub. Taxhub is the easiest way to describe it in a nutshell is just a online version of H&R Block. We're a virtual CPA platform where we make it very easy for our bread and butter clientele is normally small businesses that have like a side hustle, solopreneur, 1099 contractor, and then also landlords who have like between 1 and 5 properties. Okay. So we've created a platform where you create the account and then you're led to a portal where you can upload documents and you can schedule call with an assigned CPA, and then you just continue that relationship with the CPA.
Sure.
Hopefully indefinitely.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So we're now going to rewind the videotape quite a bit. We're going to go back and talk a little bit about your childhood and upbringing. So let's find out where did you grow up? How did you get your life started?
I was born in Utah, Salt Lake, Utah. Just kind of led somewhat of a normal life. I had a stint. My mom's side of the family is from the Midwest in Indiana, so I had a stint living out there, and I went to high school there. I went to a military school called Culver Military Academy. I don't know if it's... Where are you from?
I was born and raised in New York, but I have lived in Colorado, I've lived in Connecticut, and I've lived here in Illinois for 12 years. So I've been around the block.
Okay. So we're about 100 miles outside of Chicago, Culver is, at least. So I went to high school there, then went to Loyola University in Chicago. So I've actually been in Naperville a few times, but yeah, I majored in economics. From there, I went to graduate school I moved back to Utah, got my master's in taxation at Weber State University, and started just working for a small CPA firm, and sat for the CPA exam, studied for that for about 6 months, passed it my first try, and just continued my career in public accounting.
Good for you. So what did your parents do, and how much influence did they have on you and where you are today?
My father, he was a civil servant for Hill Air Force Base most of my childhood and growing up. So he worked there. He was a machinist, and he didn't go to college, so he kind of pushed me, told me that was the route that I should go, and kind of used his career path as an example of what happens if you don't go to college. So kind of used that as a little bit of motivation to push me into the college path. So that's how I ended up that way.
So how did you become interested in accounting and finance and tax? How did that all happen?
That's just kind of was a natural interest for me as a kid, just growing up, studying businesses.
Yeah.
Even in like junior high and high school, I would study the stock market. I loved looking at financial statements. It's just kind of one of those things that you're just naturally drawn to. So I chose economics because I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I knew economics was the nature of money, and then the polar opposite of that is accounting, which is the language of money. So if you understand those two, I think you kind of have a pretty solid fundamental basis of doing whatever you want to do.
Sure. So how did you move on from working for a firm to becoming an entrepreneur? What kind of prompted you to take that step?
I did the typical public accounting path. I stayed in public accounting for about 10 years and then went into work for private industry. I worked for a couple engineering firms and just as a controller, learned a lot about business. Working in public accounting, it's kind of like the business you see businesses from a bird's eye view. You get an intimate look of everything a business does and the results of that. You get definitely unique looks. So I just learned a lot about business in public accounting, and then going into controllership, that kind of solidified it. And then as I was doing that, I always had in the back of my head, I was seeing all these businesses kind of convert like the financial service industries convert to this hybrid model.
Yep.
Where people can work with online and cut out the brick and mortar aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And it hadn't really happened in the tax world. So always in the back of my head, I was kind of collecting data and trying to make connections to launch a platform. So in around 2015, I kind of started the website while I was still working. So just to kind of test market it and see how it would do. It's always a lot harder than you think it will be, but I kept working because it wasn't generating enough revenue the first 3 years. And then last year, it was finally time to where it could support me. And so I quit my job, and now I'm doing this full time.
Yeah. So what do you like best about what you're doing now in the entrepreneurial world?
I like the independence of being in charge of my own destiny, really. I mean, I can work as little or as hard as I want and either perish or reap the rewards from that. So I think that's definitely exciting. There's always a trade-off. You trade off stability, but I think ultimately everybody wants to be in charge of their own destiny. So I've gotten myself in a situation to where I can be that way.
That sounds good. Do you have an industry preference with respect to your clients? Is there particular industries that you cater to, or are you kind of open to any and all?
We're just through the past 3 years, we've kind of gravitated towards real estate. We get a lot of real estate clients, I think, just because real estate's a business where you can be a small real estate investor, which is our kind of bread and butter. So real estate's probably one of our biggest niches, and then just small self-employed people like consultants, IT consultants, lawyers, dentists, doctors, people like that are above the level of being able to do the taxes on their own, but not to the point where they need a full service CPA firm.
Right.
So
how did you get started with your initial marketing? And I've got to believe you've been in business 3-4 years now, that some of that's coming by referral, but how did you go about with your initial marketing to get your client base to where it is today?
We tried everything at the beginning. We tried like digital pay-per-click advertising. We tried referral. We tried just press releases, social media. We've tried everything, and ultimately it comes down to, I think, pay-per-click, we didn't get any return on our investment. Social media, it's really just been putting out content for free, offering free 5-minute consultations. Right now we show up on the first page of Google search results when you type in "talk to a CPA." So we just get a lot of referrals that way. But most of our paid advertising hasn't really come to fruition or shown any sort of return on investment for us. It's all just been either referral or just putting out free content.
So let me take a step back a little bit with respect to you appearing on the first page of most Google searches. Are you doing that on your own? Or are you partnering with a digital marketing company? Do you have colleagues on your team that help you do that? How does that all work?
I have a team of people who our digital and marketing person is someone who has another job, but he's also involved with this heavily, and he's helped out a lot. And we've tried to work with marketing firms, advertising agencies, and things like that. And they just tend to give us a cookie cutter approach that doesn't work for this industry. We're kind of a new industry, a unique industry. So every time we've worked with any digital agencies, it just has never paid off. So we just do it our own.
Well, that's interesting because I know a lot of people are very focused on that, and I commend you for the success you've had doing what you do. So let me ask you this question: what would be your highest professional moment to date? What do you?
I don't think there was really a point. I mean, it's been as probably most entrepreneurs can attest to, it's been a huge roller coaster. Sometimes I've told myself I just need to quit, give up on this, and other points I'm like, wow, this is really going to blow up. I think last year when I finally put together all my metrics and realized that we do have like over 70% customer retention rate. Our year-over-year growth for the last 3 years is over 150%. So just realizing that, all right, this is going to work. I just got to put in the time. And so I said, all right, I'm going to quit my job, and it's generating enough cash to where it can support me. I'm not going to be making a ton of money, but it's going to work. The market likes it. I just need to find a way to really scale it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So when just quitting my job and realizing that, yeah, this is, I'm onto something here.
There you go.
Which was this last summer.
So what was the best advice you've ever received from one of your external networking contacts, or even internal? Doesn't matter.
We've got some advisors, and they've helped out a lot. They're with a small angel fund that's helping us out financially. I think the best advice is I initially approached them saying, this is what I have. If you're not interested in giving us money, just let me know what you think. Is this a pipe dream, or should I keep going? And I think the best advice is when one of them said, well, with any business, if your revenues are still growing, and B, your customers are coming back, then you're on to something. And that's kind of where we were at. So I just knew that we were on to something. So that's probably the best advice I've gotten.
So I have a question here. What is your biggest challenge today? Now, that today could have been 3 weeks ago, where things were a little different than they are today, versus what would be your biggest challenge today? I would imagine that given the coronavirus epidemic that's going on, that creates a big challenge. But up until that point, what was the challenge, and how maybe that has changed in the past 3 weeks, let's say?
Well, up until that point, we were doing pretty good. We had honed in on a marketing strategy. Revenues up until like the first week in March were up like over 70% year over year, and we were just in growth mode.
Let me pause you right there, George. Was that growth mode in terms of new services with existing clients, or new clients, or both?
New clients.
Okay.
Both, to a certain extent, both, but mostly new clients. I mean, right now we're small enough to where we need to definitely increase our footprint. But yeah, I mean, we were just in growth mode, working on organic SEO marketing and things like that, and that was our just challenge. Operationally, we've developed a system that's extremely efficient that our customers love. We have nothing but 5-star reviews. So we were just in growth mode. But then after they announced 3 weeks ago, when they announced the extension of the deadline, customer acquisition just completely pretty much went to zero, because right now getting your taxes filed is the last thing on most people's minds. So now we're trying to deal with that and extend our revenue stream for another 3 months, because that's just the reality at this point.
Are you offering any other services as a result of the current market environment, or how has that changed?
For the payroll protection and the economic EIDL loans, we've sent out a lot of content and free information about that to our customer base. We haven't really said that we're going to charge you for helping you do this, because I think it's just a point where we can rather than turn it into a revenue stream, I think it's better to create goodwill with our existing customer base. So that's our approach to that. But yeah, that's about it.
So is there anything else that we've kind of talked about up to now that I might have overlooked? Is there any other items you want, business owners out there to know about, or anything you think our audience would be interested in knowing in terms of best practices? You're on the tax accounting side, but you run into a lot of businesses. Is there any advice you can give business owners in general? Or let's say you were working with a prospective buyer looking to buy a business. What would you kind of have them focus in on as you're a current owner of a business, or maybe as a new buyer looking to buy a business? What would you say?
As a buyer, I think as a CPA who came up through auditing, I have a lot of experience with that. I would recommend, if you can't do the due diligence yourself and don't have that background, I would highly recommend getting somebody who does. When you're buying a business, there's a lot of subjectivity involved, and if you don't have solid numbers, you can really, really get taken advantage of. So I think doing due diligence from an accounting and financial perspective is probably the most important thing when you're buying a business.
Sure.
Definitely.
And how about on the flip side, if you're a business owner, let's say that you've got a client that might be prepping for sale, what do you counsel your business owners to do to make them be in tip-top shape for that prospective buyer coming in and looking at?
I think, again, with my background, coming up with a valuation so you get what your business is worth and you don't get taken advantage of. And that all comes down to the numbers and making sure you have rock solid numbers and reliable numbers. And just, if you don't have the ability, getting somebody with that background to help you with that, I think is of utmost importance, because ultimately in business, it all comes down to numbers. So you need that foundation.
And you basically need to understand them to the extent that you can interpret them accordingly. So that sounds good. So that's about all I have for you here on my question and answer list here for you, George. Where can our audience go to get more information about you?
You can just go to our website, gettaxhub.com. You can go to my LinkedIn profile, or if you want, you can schedule a free 5-minute CPA consultation. And that's how we get a lot of our customers. They just have questions, and then they realize that they're in over their heads and they need professional help. And the majority of the time, whatever fees we charge, we end up saving them a lot more in just bad tax decisions. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're the subject matter expert to go to, and I'm a firm believer it's not what you know, but who you know, and you can't be a subject matter expert in everything. You need to bring those people in that might know a little bit more about some expertise that you just don't have. So that's good to know. Well, that's it, George. I thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to end the recording here, but stick on. I can stay on the line for a little bit more. I got a couple other items to cover with you. So thanks again for your time, George. Take care.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks a lot.